Welcome everyone who's joining us. I'm Greg Lambrecht. I'm the founder and inventor of Coravin, and the best part of my life now is that I get to talk to folks like this and drink their wines while doing so. I'm going to be moderating today, but I'm with a lively bunch of folk who know each other well and are producing wines in two very different regions of California, two really spectacular regions. I've got Samra from Alma Rosa in Santa Rita Hills, where we're going to be drinking a Pinot Gris as well as a Pinot Noir. Really looking forward to that. And then starting off with the guys at Amici in Napa, and we're dealing with Tony Biagi and Jesse Fox, who are waving at you right now, and have been working together on their wines. I'm going to figure out exactly how they split their work in just a second. But we're lucky to be tasting these wines. These wines are available at both of the wineries' websites, also in Coravin's marketplace, where we sell the whole pack along with a pivot, which we're going to be using to taste tonight. So you can preserve your wine while you're tasting it and come back to these and show them off to your friends later, even after you've watched. So we're live tonight, but we're also going to be available continuing after this, and you should be able to watch this whenever you want with your friends. So really happy to see everybody here, and to start tasting, we're going to start with the Amici guys, and welcome both Jesse and Tony. Tell us a little bit about the two wines that we've got. Tell us a little bit about how the three of you all got to know each other.
Sure. I'll start. I'm Tony Biagi. I'm work with Jesse, and I work with Samra as well. And in 2015, I was able to come to work for Amici. I got this great opportunity to be able to make the wines here. And then the next year, we needed another person that can craft wines as well as I did, and we found Jesse. So Jesse and I make the wines here at Amici. I do have a consulting business, and so in 2019, Samra and I started to work together down in Santa Barbara, and it's much more of a mentorship program. I think that's what we're talking a little bit today about, is mentorship. And so, Jesse and I work together very closely. The Cabernets you have today are, in front of your glasses, or the Napa Cab, and then the Reserve and the Napa. So very different levels, and we can talk a little bit about that later. However, it's just about mentorship, and I think that's really the most fun thing that I have about the wine business, is working with great people. If I can stress anything to people listening today, is that I love what I do, and I love the people I work for. I'm very lucky to be able to craft a business for myself that I love, my clients, that I love the people I work with. And so whether it be Samra or it be Jesse, it's great. And so Jesse, why don't you talk a little bit about the wines, and I can add some stuff as well.
Great, thanks, Tony, and thank you, Greg, for having us. It's been great to kind of meet you beforehand and kind of discuss a little bit. An incredible device that has been part of the wine industry now, and really fun to work with. But yeah, working with Tony has been an amazing experience, and working with the high quality fruit. Some things you look for before you kind of accept a job, I believe, is not only great people, but great vineyards, great sourcing, and great quality. And all of those things are almost equally as important to be successful in this industry as a winemaker. And when looking for mentorship, I think in some ways the idea of working with Tony was a great opportunity. For me, I had known him in the past, but Amici seemed like the great marriage. We're a small company, with just a few people, direct contact with the owners, and able to kind of go and kind of pivot quickly and be agile.
I saw Trey there pivot.
Oh, that was good.
Oh my God. I saw that. That's good.
It's one of our. It's what we do.
you like that?
Yeah. So it's good.
But it's allowed us to make great wine. And the first wine that we're talking about is really an amazing example of that. This is our Napa Valley Cabernet, 2018 vintage, which I think Tony can talk about, but it's been an extremely elegant vintage with great balance, a beautiful growing season. And what's so special about this wine is we're actually sourcing from multiple vineyards from all over the Napa Valley, whether it's Valley Floor or Hillside, and they come together so beautifully.
Again, my career's been cut making Cabernet Sauvignon in Napa Valley. I have made Pinot Noir and Rhone varietals and Syrah as well, but if you look at my resume, what I've done is Cabernet and Napa Valley, and that's what I've brought to the table. Jesse's made Cabernet as well. Harlan is, but we at Amici, we make both Pinot and Cabernet. So Jesse has taught me a lot about Pinot. So, but with these Cabernets, the first one you're having tonight, the Napa Valley, Greg, that is really sort of what we used to do in Napa Valley. And we sourced all over Napa Valley, from Carneros to Calistoga, before the sort of advent of single vineyard wines. And so this is what I came into in the early 90s in Napa Valley, was Chef de Montelena or Phelps Insignia or Duckhorn, where I worked was Duckhorn. That Napa Valley, they were buying fruit from all these great vineyards. And that's what Jesse and I try to do with this wine. It gives you tremendous value, but it's also a very mouthfilling, dense, rich, full throttle wine. Great value, but boy, it's pleasurable.
How do you do the blend? Like when you're sourcing from such great places and you're trying to figure out what percentage of each of the different wines, how many people are involved in that? And is that a fun day? Like, how do I get involved in the blend day?
That's intellectual property, and I'm gonna have to charge you more later for that. And no, seriously, I mean, Jesse and I are looking at the vineyards the whole time. It's a team effort. Even up from the owners down, we're looking at vineyards. We're assessing what the quality level is. After the fermentation, we let the wines go to January, finish malolactic fermentation, and then we start evaluating them. And I think the earlier you can put them together, the better they are. I very much believe in the Bordelaise process of blending early. I think Jesse sort of bought into that working here. I mean, that's, I think a lot of us think about Burgundy as being the sort of penultimate best wines in the world. But I think Bordeaux, for what we're trying to craft, is where we're borrowing from. Blend early, and is able to sort of marry the wine as crafting a single or wine. So,
one of the most incredible things that I think is an example of Tony's mentorship is really this wine for me, and it really started when I started working with Tony early in 2016, and going forward to crafting a wine like this, which is trying to reach so many different people. We are not, you asked about the blend. We are sourcing from all these different sites, 20 to 30 different sites. And what we're doing is we're not looking at them individually like you might do, like what Tony's talking about in Burgundy, where you're looking at a specific vineyard. You're actually looking at how they relate to the blend itself. And that's something that Tony instilled in me very early on working together, that when we're trying to make these, and actually from the very moment we harvest the grapes, we are thinking about how this fits into the blend, not necessarily what it is just by itself.
Yeah.
Super cool. Do you one last question on the whole process of making this wine? When you're working with somebody who's growing grapes for you, at what point do you take over? Do you choose when to pick, or are you receiving grapes when they pick, or what? How does that work?
Oh, no. We call all the picks. Jesse and I work together. We walk together. We call crop loads, we call picking decisions, we call macerations. We're working together on everything. In the old days, it's a good question though, because in the old days, about the mid 90s when I was working is when the winemakers started to get out more in the vineyards. Now, vineyard managers would complain about that. Like, we don't need winemakers out here. But now the winemakers are making the call in the vineyards. And Jesse and I are working together. We probably are in the vineyard once a week. As the harvest date gets closer and closer, we're probably in the vineyards twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Really trying to capture the window of when the vineyard's right.
It's delicious. It's got that sort of, it's not Bordeaux, right? It's got that California.
Napa Valley. Yeah.
Napa Valley. And it's got that richness, and yet it's got great acidity, really good balance. It's 2018, it's super young, and yet there's not like a ton of tannic grip. So it's still very drinkable young. What is your first vintage of this wine, and how well does it age?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, that might have been before me. Can we go off camera right now? To the boss. We always call Melissa the boss. She's the GM, so she's the boss. I'm scared of her. So, Jesse,
no. This was actually the first wine that Amici Cellars produced with the original owners. That our owners were a part of back in 1992. And what they really did was they came together as a group of friends, wanted to make wine for themselves and their friends in 1992. And everybody loved it, and they kind of kept coming back for more. And they realized, wow, maybe this could be something more than just a group of us in our garage making this wine. Let's see what we can do with it. And that was really the start of Amici Cellars.
Very, very cool. That's exactly how Coravin started. I was doing it for myself in my own basement, machining prototypes, and friends came over and saw me drinking differently, and they were like,
That's
"Hey,
an exciting Friday night, Greg. That sounds like fun. What are you doing this Friday night? I'm machining parts. Wow, okay, I gotta get over there. Let's get over there. We'll barbecue some steaks. You know?
Shop. You're all welcome. And the cellar is my sort of wine store, and I can do anything by the glass. That's sort of why.
I love it.
But it's fun to have a business that grows out of people asking for it, right? That's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know in the business, pull through is better than push through.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody's asked whether or not you guys have designated blocks under contract.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all different types. We have, like, for example, we do deal with Beckstoffer. So like George III, we have designated blocks, but we also take whole vineyards at some point. Like we're dealing with a Trina Vineyard in Oakville. We have the whole vineyard to ourselves. So stuff like that, it's to make a wine like this, because this is a larger scale wine at the price point, you have to do a little bit of both. I think Jesse and I are always ferreting out new vineyards, turning rocks over. You know, to get quality at $50 in Napa Valley is very hard to do. So Jesse and I spent an inordinate amount of time not turning rocks over, looking for sort of diamonds in the rough for this wine.
Very cool. Samra, so what is it like to drink California Cab when you're in Santa Rita Hills?
It's really nice. Yeah, I didn't drink cabs for a while, unless Tony comes and bring me some cab to drink.
Well, you're great. You understand, Samra worked for Thomas Brown, so she's had some pretty good Cabernet. So.
Yeah, I got to imagine, but there has to be a regional bias, right? Where when you're making Pinot and you're making Pinot Blanc, so you two types of Pinot and a Chardonnay. So to be tasting Napa Cab must be not something you do every day.
Not really. Yeah, we're now in a Pinots and drinking Pinots all the time. So yeah, now drinking Cab, it's a good treat. I like it, and I have to say, it's a beautiful Cab that I'm tasting. So great job, Jesse and Tony.
A little bit, mostly yes.
I tried. So.
Yeah, I really love it. I love the nose on it, especially. Like at first, it was like a lot of I would say chocolate, but now I smell nice perfumey notes, like a lot of violets that I'm smelling, and it has that complexity. But the tricky part is super smooth, so it's easy to drink. So
yeah, exactly. Danger.
Yeah, it's a dangerous wine, I would say.
I would agree with you on the nose. Chocolate was the first thing that came, and then it comes back as perfumed, which is. I love anything that changes on the nose. When you give it a little time in the glass. We have a Pivot aerator as well, Pivot Plus. I've got one sitting right over there. I have to embarrassingly get up and show you that I'm only wearing shorts here on this sunny day in New England to get my Pivot.
You have us beat, Greg. You have us beat, because we only have shorts on. So that's good. It's good. It's just nice. So.
Right. Just fisherman boots. That's it.
That's Jesse, not me. That's weird. That's just. He's East Coaster though, so he gets away with it.
All right, well, you all can get a sense of how this is going and where this is going to go. But I think we're going to learn a little bit while we go to the reserve one.
We're going to try.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got a question while I'm pouring the reserve wine, and that's for you, Tony, because we are talking about mentorship, and I'm going to go into the sort of mentoring prowess that you have with Jesse and Samra. But who was your mentor? Did you have somebody that really sort of shaped your view of how to make wine in the wine industry?
I have two that I would call out right away that I worked directly with. One would be Tom Rinaldi, who was the winemaker at Duckhorn. He's a founding winemaker at Duckhorn. He's actually the godfather of my daughter. And I love Tom and his wife, Beverly. When I moved to Napa Valley, it was a very different time. There was not a lot of young people. I was 23 years old. At the time, my girlfriend moved with me. And they would take us over for dinner almost every night and just pour great wines for me, spoil me rotten. He looked out for me. And so I really just felt that Tom is one of those guys that sort of taught me how to survive in Napa Valley and winemaking. And then once I got to a certain point, I would say Craig Williams would be the other one. And Craig Williams, from who was at Phelps, crafted the insignia wines. I sort of, once I got to be a winemaker and reach some success in this business with Plump Jack and the reserve Plump Jack that we crafted and the scores and all that, he really sort of taught me about what's next. And it's funny because it wasn't always about winemaking. It was really about just sort of take a step back and look at where you want to be in 5 to 10 years from now. Are you having fun? I mean, we make wine for a living. I mean, this is not, for what you do, Greg, or what you came from. I think you're a trained doctor, if I'm not mistaken.
I invent new medical therapies, so I work in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saving anybody's life here. I'm just making wine. So the reality is that you should have fun. And if you're not having fun, maybe you need to change some things in your life. And I think that's the type of mentorship that they gave me. I mean, Samra's incredibly talented. Jesse's incredibly talented. All I can do is sort of give them ideas on winemaking. Winemaking is such a personal thing, and you have to respect that from the beginning. That in the end, okay, I hear what you're saying, and I really respect where you're trying to go. But have you thought of this idea? Well, no. But that's the difference of 30 years of experience in this business and working for really good people. Is that, have you thought about this? And they might say yes, and they might come back to me and go, but have you thought about this? I'm like, oh my gosh, no, of course not. You're always learning in this business and being open to them. And the hardest part is, when I was younger at Plum Jack, I had success, and I never wanted anybody to get in the middle of that. And I wanted it my way all the time, or it was going to not be done right. And I've been able to step back and go, is it getting done right and well and to the level of quality that I want? Then why do I need to tell people what to do? And I let go. And when I was able to let go, and maybe it was life changes for me, maybe it was just looking at something differently, I found that I can grow. I couldn't grow if I was stuck in telling everyone what to do every day and micromanaging. I couldn't as a person. And I felt that that's where I went from. And that's why it's so much fun. So.
A sort of beautiful transition that happens. I used to be CEO of companies, and I stopped and became chairman, and because nobody really knows what a chairman does, and I could define my own role.
That's kind of where we're the same.
Right, exactly.
They ask all the time, "Where's Tony? What does he really do?
What is he really doing?
I totally understand it.
What is his salary again? So
yeah. I fly at 70,000 feet, Greg. Just so you know.
That's where you get hypoxic. That's
exactly.
It's never a clear line of sight.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a privilege. And I shout out to my mentor, Josh Mackauer, who is first guy who hired me in the United States and taught me how to build companies and how to innovate in medical sciences, and is a co-founder of mine here at Coravin and an investor in all of my companies, who taught me basically how to do what he did, which was a privilege, right? It's something that I wanted to learn how to do, and he spent a lot of time teaching me how to do what I did. And
but it's more fun with a group than it is by yourself. I can tell you
absolutely.
That.
And I think I think it's an honor to be able to help guide somebody else at this point. So teaching has been a big part of my life recently at Stanford and Harvard and biodesign and biomedical stuff. I love it. Kids are smarter than I am. That's the other thing that you realize, is that every generation makes some really talented people. And if you get an opportunity to mentor somebody who's extremely talented, it's a true privilege. So talk to me a little bit.
My mom is 78 and she's a high school graduate. And she always says, I'm not smarter than you, I'm just older than you. So, and it works. And I get it. She's seen more. I've seen more. I've seen people. And I think that's probably the way I look at it when I talk to Jesse or Samra. It's not that I'm smarter than these are intelligent. You guys are so much more intelligent than I am, but I just see more stuff in the wine business.
Yeah, so, it helps. Like you've seen a different form of past, and maybe can help guide the future. So talk to me a little bit about this reserve wine, because I've only smelled it. I haven't tasted it yet, but I'm forward to it. I think it's the same year.
Yeah, I mean, this is
2018.
We make single vineyard wines, but I think Jesse and I would tell you, even now, these two wines you're tasting today are sort of what we're most proud of, because the reserve is a higher level. It's different vineyards. It's there are different price points in Napa Valley. So you're talking, this has got Missouri Hopper in it, Georgia III in it, and these are vineyards that of the single vineyard wines that are $300, $250 a bottle. And we're playing with those vineyards for this wine. And Jesse and I mean, we both talk about how much we love craft. Single vineyard wines, 200 cases of a single vineyard wine is not hard. It's very easy to make a wine like this at 95 now. I always forget. 99. Yeah. So see, I don't. They don't allow me in marketing meetings either. So I just make wine. I'm disruptive. That's how they describe me. But I mean, to be able to craft this wine and know that Missouri hopper grapes or Tokalon grapes or Warren grapes go in this, and you guys are buying $300 bottles of wine with the same grapes in it for $99 is really exciting to me. So.
Yeah, and it tastes it. I mean, both on the nose and on the palate, it's got a little bit more grip than the Napa Valley, just the Napa Valley, and it's got salinity to it. There's saltiness going on on the palate that I absolutely.
That would probably be the stag's leap, I would guess. There's a good chunk of stag's leap in there, Herondale. So, Jesse, why don't you talk a little more about the wine?
This is, I think, an incredible opportunity. You know, Amici doesn't have necessarily like a trademark blend that's kind of some name that we give it. This is really the blend that we make out of every vintage that is truly the best Cabernet that we can make out of that vintage. And it's sourced from just some of the best sites in the Napa Valley, like Tony listed off. I mean, these are heritage sites going into, you know, great single vineyards of the Napa Valley. And the art of this wine truly is that blend and kind of looking them, you know, building it individually, but also looking at it as a blend. So it's kind of like this function of both philosophies, this idea of single vineyards and this idea of this incredible blend. How do we take it to the next level out of each vintage? Staying true to the vintage, staying true to the vineyard, but like expressing them together and making something unique to Amici that you won't be able to find anywhere else. You can find a Tokalon from, you know, 40 different wineries. But can you find the Amici Reserve that's sourced from Tokalon, Missouri hopper, Herondale Vineyard, you know, all more solar.
Yeah, we keep going.
Yeah, so I think this is this is probably one of the most fun wines to make. From like how high a quality, treated the same way as our single vineyards and done at an incredible value, which is what always blows our mind. And that comes from above. That comes from our ownership, our leadership in the company, and then through us as the winemaking team, you know, that can kind of create that.
It's pretty awesome. Radically different the two wines are on the nose, on the palate, that they come from the same producer. I mean, I'm trying to look for a thread that is connecting the two wines from a winemaking style. And if you were to say, you know,
polish, I mean, taste the tannins,
Yeah.
taste the richness. I mean, I've been told from people that work right next to me to the left, that it's all about, you know, what I learned early on is tannin management and polish, it's richness, it's density. The wines aren't sweet. These wines are completely bone dry. The reserve's not filtered. So the reality is these wines, the sweetness you taste in these wines are the tannin management of the wines. And that's what I know how to do. That's what I learned how to do. That's what I cut my teeth on. Tannin management.
Delicious. I mean, really striking.
I would say the difference, though, Greg, is that the Amici Reserve is more precise.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the difference. You can taste, it's funny to say that because it's such a different word, but I think the precision in the Reserve, you can taste a little more than the estate. The estate's a little bit more rambunctious, the Napa is a little more rambunctious, a little bit more, you know, forward and rich, where the Reserve is serious, it's precise.
It's got a burnt caramel thing going on the nose that is really just absolutely lovable.
Jesse loves rocks, so he drops them in the barrels all the time. It's crazy. So just very much crazy. So
actually, you talk about that, and I think it's a really interesting point in our wines that I think Tony and I both see eye to eye on. And this idea of savoriness in the wine, it's a balance of the wine. This isn't all about fruit and jam and all those kind of connotations that some people might have of the Napa Valley. This is about balance. What is Cabernet? What does Cabernet taste like? Does it taste like blackberry jam? No, there's lots of different elements. And that burnt quality that you're talking about is that savoriness. But there's also, you know, it might be like hard herbs, like, you know, rosemary and thyme and things like that.
Yeah, there's a rosemary and palate to this.
And for me, I just believe in acidity. I think I love old world wines. You know, as much as I've been Napa Valley guy, 5th generation Northern Californian, I still believe in acidity. And I think Samra will tell you the same thing down there at Rosa. We're always talking about acidity, and it's an interplay between acidity and ripeness. I want ripe fruit, but I want acidity. And if you lose acidity and it's flabby, then we've lost.
Yeah, you've lost everything. So Samra, have you worked at Amici? Have you worked directly together with Tony on on a wine at Amici, or has it always been your love in Santa Rita Hills?
No, I mean, I've worked in different wineries in Napa, but I moved to Santa Rita Hills in 2019, and together with Tony, I would say, and that's the first time we met and start working together. And since then, we've been like great friends, and it's amazing to have somebody mentor as he is. So, yeah.
Is there a when Tony, when you're thinking about the mentorship and Samra, I mean, you're in a, I mean, I love Santa Barbara. I think number one, Santa Barbara is the most beautiful place in the world, and the hills are absolutely stunning. And the fact that such great wines are coming from Santa Barbara and Santa Rita Hills in particular, I mean, some really world class wines coming out of there. Is there, because the terroirs are so different, and they seem to be, right? Is there guidance? Is there a different way of mentoring somebody when they're in a location that is so radically different, Tony?
No, of course there is. I think not one shoe doesn't fit all. I mean, you have to take a look at the vineyards, what you're dealing with, what varietals you're dealing with, and then say, okay, how are we going to attack this issue or these problems or this vineyard? And then you really, but like I said, you know, Jesse does, you know, I let Jesse take the lead of Pinot Noir with Amici. And then I work with him, talking to him about, well, this is what I love in Pinot Noir. What do you think? And then with Samra, we look at the vineyards. We look at the vineyards very much. We're very much meticulous when we look at vineyards. We have so much data, probably more so. I wish I could tell you that I put my finger in the air and just guess. I don't. I have so much data, and Samra has so much data that allows us to make really good, educated decisions on the back end. You know, my goal is, you know, I think one of the biggest knocks on California wine is, oh, they're alcohol. It's too ripe. And our goal is to get the fruit ripe, but not so ripe there's alcohol. We still want acidity. We still want freshness. And I think no matter if it's Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Pinot Blanc, Cabernet, Merlot, Syrah, number one, they need to be varietally correct. And number two, they need to have acid. And I think if you can do that, then I think you've accomplished what you're trying to go get to. And I think if Alma Rosa's wines all tasted the same, all overripe and chocolatey, and they're not, I mean, you guys are gonna try these wines today, they're not by any stretch of imagination, then I failed as a consultant. What are we trying to do? Then I listen to Samra, but I also listen to the ownership group. They all tell me what they want. And I say, okay, I can give you what you want. Here's how we go about it. That's kind of what I try to do.
Yeah, well, I got to compliment you on both of these cabs that we've just had, and anybody who, I mean, I read a study a couple of years ago. I'm not a wine guy, I'm a medical guy, and I happen to wander into the wine industry. But I wound up asking, you know, the question, is terroir dominant, is vintage dominant, is the winemaker dominant? And luckily California did this test. I applaud California for doing it. And they had 3 different regions of California, 3 different winemakers and 3 different vintages, wound up with 27 different wines. And they had experts try to group them, and they grouped them by winemaker. And so all the decisions, not by vintage, not by terroir, and I think all the decisions that you guys make along the way are so powerful in influencing what you wind up with in the end. What it speaks to is the human impact on wine, and that this is a symbiotic relationship with the grape plant that we've had for thousands of years, right? And it really matters, the choices that you guys make and how you make them, and the consumer, and the way that the consumer winds up experiencing them in the end, which I can understand the almost sort of the overemphasized impact of having mentors and guidance along the way as a result.
Well, no, I mean, I've always said to myself when I think, you know, I work with clients, is that I'm not driving the bus. You know, Samra's driving the bus down there. I'm just helping her drive the bus. Jess and I drive the bus together to Amici, but I'm trying to help him. And then, you know, in a way, they both help me because their eyes are on the ground. I can't see everything that everybody sees. I have a bigger role with Amici, of course, than I do at Alma Rosa. But the reality is, whenever I take on a client, I tell the owners that it's not about me, it's about Amici. In the end, if Amici's successful, then I'm successful. Maybe it's a different take on the consulting business. Maybe, you know, a lot of consultants want their name first and foremost for that. But I like it. I like it. It works for me. I have great clients. I love the people I work for. We drink a lot of great wine together. We eat a lot of great meals together. And no one ever gets mad about egos, like, why are you getting more credit for this than I am? You know, and so it works for me. I mean, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why I think the type of mentorship that Tony instills, and that I've noticed from the very beginning of working with him, is this idea of mutual respect. We're all working together. We all bring something to the table, and you know, and you should go and you should do what you do well, and let me help you through it, and come to me and explain to me why you're doing it. I mean, I think one of the most important things that Tony spoke about earlier, you know, it's like Tony would challenge me, and especially at the beginning, be like, well, why are you doing this? Tell me why. And it wasn't questioning, it was just, he wanted to see where I was going, that there were reasons behind it. Tony has reasons behind what he does, you know, and his philosophy. Now, whether you decide later on to take those or to kind of go with them, I think you know that they're based with reason. And to just say that, oh, I do it because this is the way I feel, is not necessarily a good answer. And I think that that it's a challenge to think deeper into what you're doing, and to constantly search for quality, and I think, and improvement. And I think he still believes in that, which is essential. It's something that I've always believed, that no matter how long I've worked in the industry or any industry, is that I'm always open to more ideas and to growing and to becoming better.
I think that's advice that spreads across industries, and it's true in medicine as well as it's true in physics, as well as it's true in wine, and with Coravin as well. I think that's what led to Pivot, is that, you know, we were pouring wine from a bottle without opening it using the original Coravin, which I used on the reserve. And then we were like, why are we doing this when some people just want the wine to last for a month or a couple of months? We can use Pivot, pour it faster, pour it with less gas. So, you know, being open and not so protective of what you think is sacrosanct is really important to growth. Samra, yeah. I'm gonna turn to you. I mean, these wines are spectacular. Everybody who didn't join us before we started, I was crushing a couple of shrimp tacos, and I was eating it with the Pinot Gris. I'm embarrassed by the way that I ate those tacos, but not by the way.
That's an understatement, Greg. Crushing is an understatement. You know, I watched. It was like, wow.
I'm really hungry. I'm training for a race, and so I've always believed, Samra, that there's a perfection of happiness that occurs when you find the thing that you're passionate about at the intersection of something that you're really good at. So if you're really good at it and it intersects with something that you're passionate about, then just keep doing that for the rest of your life. And so I want to hear, before we start tasting the wines, how did you find your passion for wine, and then know that you were as good at it? Like, when was the first time when you were like, man, I really love this field and I'm really good at this field, and therefore I want to keep doing it?
First time it was at college when I decided I want to be a winemaker. So I wanted to be a brewmaster, and I was really into it. And I did the internship in brewery, and I didn't like smell of beer anymore. So later on, I fall in love with the wine, and I tried to figure it out after college, because I was living in a city. How will I pursue that career? And I accidentally moved to Napa. And that's where I actually learned everything. I worked 2 harvests with Thomas Rivers Brown before I joined Alma Rosa, and a little bit with Mondavi family. And in 2019, Deborah Eagle, general manager of Alma Rosa, gave me the first job here in America. And when she moved to Alma Rosa, she brought me here with her. And that's how I started working with Tony, and him being my consulting winemaker since then. And it's been fun and exciting and hard.
What is I guess you find that you've got passion, you find that you got skill. What to you is the area where you're still most unsure, where there's this place where you're like, you know, I love this field, I know this field, I know winemaking, but there's this area of uncertainty that I'm playing with that I haven't yet learned, but really is important in what it is that you do, which is the production of these really great wines.
I think it comes all the time. As being young winemaker, you kind of always come to be unsure sometimes, and that's why I have Tony there. He's been amazing with me always. Every time when I got insecure about something, he's there. But rather to be, I don't know, about a certain barrel doesn't taste right, or I'm not sure about how I want to do something. He's always there to teach me and to push me to do things. And yeah, that's been very exciting, and I learned so much from him since we've been working in the last 2 years, and how to sometimes not to stress about the little things that I'm stressing about. Like sometimes I'm too focused on some, and he would be like, "No, it's okay, just it's fine."
It's
So
fun. Yeah. That's a benefit of experience for sure. It's fun. I have to tell you, I am an old entrepreneur now, and I live in uncertainty all the time. Yeah.
No, great.
Maybe
Can,
that's the answer.
can I jump in real quick?
Sure, yeah, of course.
So it's funny because it sort of leads me to a story that's really funny, and I have other clients as well. I wish all the people I work with could be on here tonight. It couldn't be done, but I have one winemaker that's incredibly talented that I work with. And at the beginning of our relationship, he kept calling, whoever it is, kept calling. And I just said, hey, look, you need to make these decisions, because if I'm making all these decisions for you, I'm going to fire you tomorrow. I'm going to hire someone else that's going to do it, and I'll make the wines. So you make the decisions, we'll talk about them, and you're making them, you're learning, because if I'm making them, you're not learning. You have to learn. And I said, I'll never let you make a mistake. I'll catch you when you're about to go off the rails. The only thing I can't fix in a winery is if you put wine down the drain. I can't do that. If you open a tank or you spill a bunch of wine, we always joke with Jesse and I said, that's the only fireable offense in any winery I work at is if you lose wine down the drain, because we can't replace it and we can't fix it. Yeah. So other than that, people make mistakes. We're human. We'll fix it. But go make decisions. And I'll tell you the thought process. Like Jesse said earlier, tell me your thought process. What were you thinking? Okay, here's how I see it. And then sometimes I'm like, wow, I never saw it that way. Sometimes I'm like, well, did you see it this way? And all of a sudden it opens a line of dialogue up with winemaking. Whereas I want to know what you're thinking, because this is in the end, a lot of gut feel in this business. There's a lot of gut feel. And this person got us, goes, okay. And now she barely calls me. I'm like, no, you're going to call me more now. I want to talk to you more. No, but the reality is this person's amazing. She's made some of the best wines that I've had in the last 5-10 years. But at the beginning, it was almost adversarial a little bit. And I just wanted her to know I support you 100%. Go craft the best wines in the world. So
that's it. I also think it's important to let people know that it's okay to be uncertain, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
What happens. So there's very little uncertainty in this Pinot Blanc that I'm drinking. Talk to me a little bit about it, Samra, and how you got to this really spectacular wine, and then what you think makes it special being from Santa Barbara.
So yeah, I'm sourcing these grapes from a beautiful La Encantada vineyard. I have to say, Alma Rosa winery is situated in the Santa Rita Hills and was founded in 2005 by Richard Sanford, who founded also La Encantada vineyard. And we're sourcing only 3 tons from this vineyard, and we're very lucky we're just sharing this little part of the vineyard with the other winery. And what finds Santa Rita Hills beautiful is what I love and fall in love with, and kind of reminded me of home and Adriatic Sea, is that minerality and acid you find in the wines, but also the saltiness. And it's kind of you're tasting the ocean, and that's the beauty of our soils, that we have the marine layers still presented and give us this beautiful saltiness.
I was going to say that's what's there. There's saltiness and there's acidity, and actually it kind of ties me back mentally to the Amici is that saltiness and that acidity, and it was what was perfect with my shrimp tacos. With avocado, that acidity cut through the avocado like it was yesterday's news. It was really perfect as a pairing. And I wanted to talk, because I did notice it as well, about your home. So I've spent a lot of time in Croatia and a little bit of time in Bosnia, but not yet in Sarajevo. But when you think about your home country and bringing all of that knowledge and experience and that college experience also from there, how do you think that as a winemaker is influencing the decisions that you are making, and how do you think you're steering your wines differently than other producers in Santa Maria Hills and Santa Barbara?
Well, I have to say that even if I'm European, I have all of my experience. Yes, I learned like chemistry in a college and everything, but all of my experience is California, and I'm a true Californian winemaker and very proud of it.
Yeah.
So,
So you basically forget the past. It has absolutely nothing to do with the way you're making.
I'm proud being from home and everything, but California gave me the opportunity. California teach me everything, and I learned from great winemaker. I'm working with Tony, who is a great winemaker, and yeah, I am very excited that I have opportunity to learn from these people and be proud the new world winemaker.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'll admit to the same thing. My family is Austrian and German, and so we wound up here only after the war. And so, you know, my experience is entirely American, and I think the entrepreneurial spirit that I have is entirely American, sourced by, you know, sort of the American entrepreneurship gene and the acceptance of that as a career path in the U.S. It's less so in Europe. It's harder to be an entrepreneur in Europe than it is in the U.S., where there's all these structures there to support young people making decisions, right? I mean, I think that's one of the benefits of the U.S.
Totally.
So how long have you guys been making this particular wine? I mean, the Pinot Blanc from Santa Barbara is not the thing that you think of when you're pulling off the shelf in a wine store, and yet it's absolutely delicious. How long have you guys been making this wine?
Well, previously they made Pinot, they made Blanc. They blended Pinot Gris and Pinot Blanc together. And when Tony and I took over in 2019, we made this wine, and I was like, Tony would come and visit me. And I was like, Tony, I'm so excited. These two varietals are so amazing. We should bottle them separately. And then we needed to go to our GM, Deborah, and convince her to bottle 70 cases of each of these wines. So we finally did, yeah. And since 2019 is the first time that we are doing these two wines, this wine separate. And this is our pre-release that we're having today with the Coravin.
So that's it. I mean, by the way, this is absolutely stunningly delicious. Like, it's floral, it's got honey notes, it's got that salinity and the acid that you were talking about. Like, when you're looking for a white wine, I've always thought that Pinot Blanc, Pinot Gris were sort of along this group of grapes that had difficulty being distinctive. And like, if you blind taste wines, which I do a lot of,
Yeah.
Pinot Blanc and Pinot Gris are tough. And Alvarinho.
100%. I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're just tough. And what I love about this wine is it stands out. It's not like a shy, muted colored white wine. This is almost an edgy, beautiful, floral. I don't even know what I would call this in a blind tasting, but it's super distinctive. What do you guys think at Amici?
No, I mean, you know, it's funny because, you know, Pinot Blanc does grow in Burgundy as well. And I think Richard planted this because of that. And I think that's, you know, Richard Sanford, who is, you know, the original owner of the property that Bob purchased that we're making wines. He's still around. He's still part of, we talked to him quite a bit, and, you know, legend in Santa Rita Hills. And I want to give a quick shout out to Jim Clendenin. You know, he passed away in the last couple of days. Talk about one of the original guys who would champion Santa Barbara wines, and it's sad to hear him go. I mean, he's one of the first guys I thought as a legend. I went and tasted at a Blanc Climate in the mid-90s. I'm like, that's Jim Clendenin. Oh my God, he's got the curly hair. I know, that's him. You know, I was afraid to talk with the guy, and to hear him pass was really pretty tragic at the beginning of the week. I think it happened on Sunday night. So let's give a quick shout out to him. But other than that, you know, Richard's the other guy. Those are the two guys I know from Santa Barbara. And so he planted it there. And I think this wine, Samra's right. They're completely different wines. The Pinot Gris and the Pinot Blanc, they should be separate. Now I'm going, Samra, you do know as an old, you know, jaded winemaker, no general manager wants to bottle 75 cases. you know. So, but I think it warrants its own bottling. It really does. It's old vines. I think the vines are plus 20 years. Aren't they, Sam? 25 years old?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's actually made us want to plant Pinot Blanc on the estate property, because we do purchase these grapes. So, and we're gonna plant, yeah. So, Jesse.
Yeah, I think
every last
I'm
week.
really blown away by this wine. And, for me, it was one of my first loves was Pinot Blanc, mainly from Alsace.
That's a straight up lie.
No, it's true. From working in the East Coast before I really knew much about California wines. But I think the richness of this wine and the complexity of this wine is really what I enjoyed the most out of it. I mean, the salinity, but also the oiliness. I mean, this is a medium-bodied, medium to full-bodied Pinot Blanc, and it's wonderful to see that complexity and that richness, but still has that beautiful aromatics, that levity that I think is. It is very distinct from someplace like Alsace, which was my first introduction to Pinot Blanc. But to California, I think says a lot about that coastal influence on it, and it's really exciting and well done, Samra.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's delicious, and I pivoted it. So pivot lasts for a month. I'm trying to get it to last for 6 months. Actually, these are prototype stoppers. You see the little blue dot. So this will last for 6. So we're working as we always do, and this wine it's going to be fascinating to watch it age, and we've got the opportunity to taste the first release of this wine. And anybody who does not have any of this wine should go to the website of the winery, go to our website and our marketplace. The stuff is really delicious. So, Samra, I wanted to walk over to your Pinot Noir, which I have to admit, I pivoted as soon as I received the bottle.
Oh, nice.
I couldn't wait to try, because I'm such a fan of Santa Barbara. And I did that with the Amici Napa Cab as well, probably 2-3 weeks ago. I'm looking forward to trying this one again and having you talk through it a little bit, because I want to understand what you think is distinctive about Santa Barbara Pinot Noir, and then what's distinctive in particular about Alma Rosa's Pinot Noir, and what you want to do with it.
So we make a few different Pinot Noirs. Today, what we're tasting is our estate El Habli Pinot Noir. And we have 5 different altitudes that we grow Pinot estate. And I have to say, when Tony and I started in 2019, this was the first pick from these new projects that we did on our estate. So it is exciting that me and him growing together with this vineyard and learning this vineyard and figuring it out and what we want to use for El Habli.
Me?
Yes, you
Sam,
walked
me?
with me.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Jesse. Sorry.
No, you walked with me through the vineyard.
We go
Jesse,
way
you are
back.
welcome to join us too. So yeah, it's exciting, and we taste, and I tell Tony, it's like, this is what I think, and then he tells me I'm doing horrible job or I'm doing right job. And
I never say you're doing a horrible job. I just don't say anything. I'm one of those parents.
I know.
I'm quiet. I'm passive aggressive.
First year I didn't understand, and then second year I understand, Tony, now that I work. Sometimes when he texts me with the shortcut, I have to figure it out as a European. What the hell does this mean?
Yeah, I'm
the worst texter ever, Greg. Sorry.
No,
I don't believe in punctuation.
Samra, wait until the 5th year. The 5th year is the worst.
Punctuation is for losers.
If you have no punctuation, it could all be exclamation points. So
LOLs and smiley faces. That's how I do my business.
I know. Took me forever, but I think I'm getting there.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Samra, stop lying.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't understand as much as I do.
Punctuation is for losers. I'm telling you.
What a beautiful, so this, first of all, this is, like, if anybody's tasting this along with us, this is a beautiful Santa Barbara. This is what Santa Barbara does with Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir does it so well in California. There's a beautiful smokiness to this on the nose. Like, as soon as you swirl it and put it on your nose, there's like almost a smoked meat thing going on, which is super cool. for a Pinot
Right,
Noir.
you have to be careful of the smokiness though, because the last couple of years, this is not smoke taint. This is
I know.
smoke- Yeah, so-
I know everybody
For
in
all of you out there tonight, it's not smoke taint.
No, it's
You're
not
okay
smoke
at
taint.
19 and 20, so.
Yeah, don't listen to the Greg speak about wine tasting.
No, it is smoky though. I mean, Samra, why is it smoky?
I don't know.
Oh, how much whole cluster did you do on this?
So I'm joking. I'm joking. We use the 6% whole cluster on this, and particularly our block 12, which is part of this wine, has that a lot of like nice smoky notes. And I use a little bit new oak on that particular block, and I think it attributes a lot to this wine.
It's beautiful, and the fruit is there, and it's delicious with almost very little residual sugar. Like this is not a sweet wine; it's a dry wine, and I love that about it. The acidity is there as well. Like it always at the base, which is great. So it's not a flabby wine in any way, and I can't imagine it's easy to make a flabby wine in Santa Barbara with the weather that you guys have and the slopes that you guys have, and the altitudes that you're playing with. What is the highest altitude that you guys are picking or getting grapes from?
It's 750.
Meters.
40,000.
I thought Tony said 70,000.
Yeah, 70,000 feet. We fly at 70,000 feet.
I thought it was 70,000.
Grapes aren't there.
750 meters is a lot of meters.
Yeah,
It's not. Yeah.
So on the East Coast, 750 meters is hard to find. We're not known in Massachusetts, which is what's behind me for our winemaking prowess. Sorry to all the winemakers here in Massachusetts making great cranberry wine. I do apologize. So
That was good.
well, yeah.
That's a note to the greater Philadelphia area. The cranberry farms.
Coravin cranberry wine. That'd be the next one.
Yeah, I did Coravin a cranberry wine. It was a wine that was given to me by a very enthusiastic friend here from Massachusetts when I moved. And it's actually sitting in my wine cellar. It's out 18 years. It's one of the first bottles I Coravin. And the reason I did was because I didn't know whether Coravin worked or not. And so I was like, well, what do I not care about that's in my wine cellar? So
It's funny. I did want to say something about Coravin before, or I think we got about 5-10 minutes, but what you created is probably the standard now. It makes me happy to have wine on the glass at a bar older than a day. I mean, we used to always struggle with people putting corks back in, give a little bit of gas. It's gonna be fine. It's never fine. Coravin's allowed, I think Jesse, you'd agree, us to go to a wine bar or go to someone's house and go, hey, Coravin, hey, give me a glass. I'd love to try it. It's funny. You're gonna laugh at this, but I've had other friends bring me bottles that have been Coravin, they don't know they're Coravin. And then I try, I'm like, that's really, really good. My God, it's been Coravin. You look at the cork, you can see the old Coravin with the needle through the cork. I'm like, uh-oh. And you try like, wow, that does really work. And you should be so proud of what you've created here. I mean, I think it's just, everybody should have one. I don't think anybody, you should have one on hand I'm a single guy, I go home. I love drinking bottles of wine by myself. It's probably not the healthiest thing to do every night. But having a good glass of a bottle of wine that I crafted, these things are standard bearers. So thank you.
Yeah, and I can't agree. I can't agree more. I think it's the single best thing in the wine industry for kind of taking care of wine once it's been open. And I mean, for my personal story is my wife and I have young kids. And it just got to the point where
we drink 2 bottles of wine a night.
So we did. I wish we could. We open up a bottle, and after one glass, we just want to go to bed. And it was honestly the savior of a lot of wines. And we're actually probably drinking more wine because we know, okay, we don't have to finish the whole bottle. We can have a glass and then pass out on the couch and be like, oh, we should just go to bed.
And how many times you go to somebody's house, you're like, oh yeah, I opened this last night. Do you want a glass? You're like, no, not really. But now with Coravin, you're like, it's Coravin. Okay, I'll have a glass. I'm good.
That's my hope, right? I mean, in the end, you guys make these spectacular wines, and Coravin is useless unless we're drinking some of your wines, Samra, or you, Jesse and Tony. We're meaningless without the wine itself. And so, we spent, it's not just me, it's a team of incredible people that work with me, and I think that you all sense the same thing, that wine is a is the end result of a lot of people, right? Somebody's making decisions, but there are a lot of tiny decisions made by everybody that works with you guys along the way, from your owners all the way down to the guys who are picking, that have an influence on your wine. And the same is true at Coravin. I mean, we've got incredible people in R&D and in marketing and in sales, and all that needs to happen for Coravin to be relevant, to be out there and in people's hands and working as well as it does. I mean, I'm an inventor, entrepreneur. I start companies, I raise money, I build teams, but it's the teams that ultimately make this happen. And it's the guidance, you know, I'm sure. And so I wound up realizing that I'm the guy who hires people who hire people. And so you need to find people who are good at managing other people when you're the CEO, you're the chairman. And I think the beauty is if you can hire someone and mentor them, and you know that they're the person who's going to be the person who hires people and mentors them. And Tony, I've got to congratulate you with both Jesse and Samra. I didn't know who you were talking about when you said one of your best winemakers.
There wasn't anybody here, so that's just, you know.
Stop making yourself up. Yeah,
I'm kidding, but it just means that it's this opportunity to work with great people on a wonderful thing. And I think that we've had a privilege at Coravin. I've had a privilege of working with great people on a wonderful thing. Tony, you clearly are working with great people on a wonderful thing. Jesse, you're working with great people on a wonderful thing. Samra, I mean, these wines are stunning. Somebody asked, when is the white going to be released?
Good question. Samra, go girl. It's your turn.
Yeah, when's it going to happen?
So yeah, they're released today, especially for this event. And if they go to the Coravin, if you scroll down, they can see, they can purchase these wines.
Coravin Marketplace, go there, buy wine. We're going to be selling more and more wines from people that we love on Coravin Marketplace. So we're just going to be connecting you to the site. So please do get your wines there if you can. These wines are incredible, all four of them. And I have the sense that this is the other reason why I invented Coravin. I can't wait to taste these again. And I can't wait to share them with the employees at Coravin. We're all getting together. We're all vaccinated now. So we're all getting together and we're going to drink through all the wines from all of my Instagram.
Hey, Greg, what's vaccination? What are you talking about? Oh, no, I'm just joking. No, I'm fine.
I used to work at Pfizer. My first job was at Pfizer, and my mentor hired me into Pfizer. So happily Pfizered. Yeah. So for anybody who missed this, or you feel like your friends would really enjoy it, or you've got the wines and you've got the pivot, you want to pour it with them, or I saw that somebody had the wines over at their friend's house and they were drinking other Amici wines.
Take them home. Take them to leave them. Don't leave them.
Exactly.
They're just your friends. They're not family. So take them home.
Get more of this stuff. Watch this video with your friends. It's just as good not live. It's like Peloton. You're going to love it, and you're going to love these wines. They're stunning. Each one of them was so unique, so distinctive, and I think that comes from the winemaker. So thank you to you guys. Thank you to Samra.
Thank you. Thank everybody out there tonight. Thanks for showing up. And you could be a million places, but thank you for coming. So.
Yeah. Well, you guys do beautiful things. Wine's been with us for 8,000 years. You're the reason it's going to last for the next couple of generations. And there'll be people that get mentored that will carry it forward the next generations thereafter. Wine's not going to.
It won't kill you. That 8,000 years ago might have killed you. Now it won't. So just enjoy.
Beautiful stuff. I look forward to sharing these with the team at Coravin and tasting through them. Thank you, everybody who attended.
Thanks, Greg. Have a great night. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. Have a great night. Enjoy.